Good morning to all of you. Today I have chosen a topic, though it looks printed circuit boards means it is a very common terminology being used everywhere for any building up any electronic platforms. But when it comes to space application, the PCB itself becomes complex, the process and its reliability, everything. As you already heard the first lecture by Mr. T.S. Nanjundaswamy regarding the spacecrafts where the system reliability plays an important role, because high system reliability is a need of the hour. As you know that we put lot of efforts to build a spacecraft where lot of subsystems are involved, money is involved, and also the users basically have high expectations of the performance of these spacecrafts. Taking into consideration of all these things, we have to see that the spacecrafts work reliably. And you know already that spacecraft comprises of many subsystems, and as already mentioned by Mr. Nanjundaswamy that 70% of spacecraft will be electronic. So electronics, for any electronic package, the backbone will be the PCB. Now I will be telling about the printed. Here I feel some PCB manufacturers also must have come. They know very well what is the complexity of the manufacturing PCBs, and these PCBs to work in a reliable environment, what are all the processes to be followed is an important thing, which will be my talk in today's lecture. We know that printed circuit boards acts as a backbone of electronic circuits, provides mechanical supports for components and electrical interconnection. And spacecraft uses various types of PCBs, which you are already aware that single-sided, double-sided, multi-layer boards, rigid flex boards, and metal core boards for heat thermal management purpose, and high density interconnects for state-of-art components. And the PCBs are classified based on their applications. The first application is very common application, which everybody is aware that it's a consumer boards, consumer PCBs, which are generally used for radios, televisions, mobiles, and it's a cheap this thing, and for test equipments. It uses very less expensive materials, because here they have to aim at marketing, not at any reliability issues and other things. And they have a greater tolerance for manufacturing also. And much importance not given for a good consistent electrical properties also here. It's a use and just throw. Whereas coming to professional boards, these are used for technology developments and other things, because during any technology development, you should not get into any wrong results, so that the whole technology developments gets diverted. And PCs should work reliably on the ground, and some of the critical measuring equipments should work reliably. And these are made of better quality materials and have some tighter electrical and environmental specifications. And also it has been fabricated using controlled fabrication techniques. Now our today's day topic is high reliability boards. These are mainly used in strategic applications like military and aerospace, where you cannot afford to have any failure due to the printed circuit boards. That means it should provide the best electrical performance and properties, and it should have high quality base material and tight controlled manufacture process, and it should work in harsh environments. Because in the previous lecture we have seen what are all the environments one spacecraft undergoes. So As you know that electronics is 70% of electronics is in a spacecraft. So PCB also undergoes all the harsh environments. Now let me just briefly, already since this has been covered, I'll just go through this very fast. Any spacecraft experiences following environments. One is ground environments. During testing, during fabrication, it undergoes lot of cleaning cycles and thermal cycling. Then ground testing, reworks. While doing soldering, some components have to be removed and reworked. And all such things PCB undergoes on the ground. Coming to the launch environment, when the launch vehicle lifts off, there will be heavy vibration due to yawing and pitch, spinning of the launch vehicle, and also there will be very huge noise, acoustic sound, where that sound again transmits to the structure of the vehicle, which will transmit the vibration effect onto the electronic packages. So PCB, which is supporting the electronic packages, should be able to quench the vibrations so that the vibration doesn't transmit to the components which are mounted on that, and the leads should not break. This is how one should take care while designing the PCBs for launch vehicle programs or space programs. Now once launch has been taken place and a spacecraft has been put into the orbit, space environment is much more harsher than launch and ground environment. Because continuously the spacecraft will be seeing radiation, it will be seeing hot, and it will be seeing sudden cold regions. So such things also the electronic packages which are used for building the spacecraft will be seeing, and in turn the PCBs also will be seeing. So hence the criticalities, what we have to see is, we have to ensure long life with consistent performance. And we know very well that no rework is possible once spacecraft is launched, and we have to ensure the reliability of the PCB and workmanship also, and exposure to environmental conditions it should be able to withstand. So hence, to get a reliable PCB, the process qualification plays a major role or an important role. So as we know that process qualification is a tool of quality assurance, which will ensure us, which will confirm that whatever manufacturing processes and testing methods we are using, it meets the quality requirements, and also it ensures the PCBs or the products with some predetermined, already we have fixed certain quality aspects, how it should be, what material should be used for PCB applications and other things. All that determined quality characteristics and attributes can be reproduced consistently when we use the process qualification, which is a tool of quality assurance. Now if you see the test matrix used for high reliable PCBs at ISRO, we ask any vendor, or even in-house we have a PCB manufacturing plant, which is a proto shop we call. We have to submit 11 samples to quality assurance division, where they conduct group 1 to group 7 tests on the PCBs. These tests will reveal the whatever process which has been employed in fabricating those PCBs. See that the process identification document has been properly made, and the flow chart has been properly made. The NCR management, non-conformance managements have been properly, records have been kept, and feedback from the various online QC, that is inline QC, where at each stages of manufacturing, the manufacturer of PCB gets the information from quality assurance division. So what we do in group 1 is preconditioning, cleaning, visual examination. That is, these 11 boards what I told will be manufactured in different batches. It is not a one single batch where vendor can say I have produced 11 PCBs and my PCBs are more reliable. It is not so. We ask him to make it in 2 or 3 different batches, these 11 PCBs. Out of 11 PCBs, 10 PCBs will be subjected to which will be subjected to destructive testing, and one PCB will be kept as a reference to see what are the deviation from the reference PCB after each test it undergoes. So further coming to group 2, we do thermal cycling test, where PCB is subjected to plus 125 to minus 55 degrees centigrade for 100 cycles. Similarly, after the thermal cycling is done, we again carry out a visual examination, bow twist continuity test, then intra IR checks, inner layer IR checks, and high voltage test we do, peel strength we do, rework simulation we carry out, and plating thickness and conductors things will be checked by doing microsection. So after each cycle, after each test we carry out, we do the monitoring test to see whether during this cycle anything has happened to the PCB. Similarly, in group 3, we do current carrying capacity. That is, we fix like with a proper derating, we fix the current carrying capacities for each trace designs, because that is one of the critical thing, because trace or the copper track should not fail during the operation. And also we subject it to long-term damp heat monitoring, long-term damp heat to simulate the humidity conditions so that the PCB should not get affected. Similarly, in group 4 test, we do hot storage and cold storage tests. In the hot storage test, we subject the PCB to at 85 degrees centigrade and keep it for 14 days. And similarly, at cold storage, we keep it for 24 hours at minus 40 degrees centigrade. And further, we carry out vibration test to see any plated through holes, especially for multi-layer boards. Plated through holes makes a lot of, it is an important aspect which has to be taken care during the fabrication aspects. After the group 4 test, we also do again monitoring test like what we have mentioned in the bottom table, and we carry out group 5 test where high temperature dip test. See, generally what we do is any rework whenever we do on the PCB, we are subjecting it to thermal excursion, because we are desoldering and soldering the component once again causes thermal excursion. This has to be verified by carrying out high temperature dip test. Generally, we in any of the high reliable PCBs, they do only once the solder float test at 288 degrees centigrade for 10 seconds. But for space grade PCBs, we are doing 6 times. The PCB that which are intended to be used for space application has to be dipped in solder at 288 degrees centigrade for 6 times and see whether still that plated through hole and the pads and other things are intact. This will be verified by doing the bow and twist test, peel strength test, and microsection of PTs. Similarly, when we come to group 6 test, we have dimensional verification like mechanical checks we do, and then solderability, both hole and pads, surface, and we also see solder mask whether it has been properly covered and other things, because as you know, the space has a lot of contamination and other outgassing property of PCB material will be checked. Then cleanliness we will be verifying. Then rework simulation and bond strength will be verified. Then coming to group 7, where that is the final test we carry out on the PCBs. They will be mostly on the assembly side, like whether the sewaging, the turrets, we use turrets for interconnections. So when we are doing a sewaging, there should not be any measling or delamination or blistering effects on the PCBs. These are the qualification test matrix which we carry out on high reliable PCBs at ISRO. Then what are the characteristics to be measured? We do mechanical, we do electrical, then it is followed by environmental tests. First we verify mechanically what length, width, everything of the PCB whatever design, and also we verify pitches for mounting, because once we mount the components we cannot alter the mechanical characteristics of the PCB. Then warp and twist also plays an important role during assembly. Then flexural strength also is an important aspect. Then we also verify whether trace width and thickness, resolution, all are meeting the specifications. And we see the plated and copper, basic copper thickness. That is, we start with some basic like half an ounce or 1 ounce or 2 ounce copper thickness, and then we build up to the requirement. And we also see dielectric thickness. Dielectric thickness plays an important role in voltage, operational voltage. And we see HVAC. And also annular rings, barrel regularity, all these factors which comes under mechanical will be verified before subjecting it to environmental tests. And we also verify electrical integrity checks like intra-layer insulation, inter-layer insulations, because if you see multi-layers, we are using up to 14 layers is being qualified for space applications. We are making those PCBs in-house and is being flown in spacecrafts. So when we talk about very high layer counts, we have to be careful about intra-layer insulation resistance and inter-layer insulation resistance, and dielectric withstanding capability and interconnection resistance plays an important role, and current carrying capacity is another important characteristics of PCB. Then the environment, after those mechanical and electrical checks, we subject the PCB for thermal shock cycling, then solder flow test, vibration test, and during the vibration we do very comprehensive and elaborate test, which I will be covering in the next slide. And we do long-term damping for humidity verification, because when we shift the spacecraft to launch station is located very close to the seashore. A lot of humidity things will be there. So the PCBs have to be well protected from the humidity point of view. Hot and cold storage also is one of the things. After that we do vibration check to see any effect due to hot and cold storage. And finally we do hot oil dip to find out any lamination damage due to the hot oil. Thermal shocking cycle means we have to check whatever laminates we use, that is a base material, whatever we use to build up a multi-layer boards or double-side boards. It will be repeatedly exposed to plus and minus temperatures, and we will measure interconnection resistance prior to that test, and after that the thermal shock cycle, we should see that ICR should not change 10% of the initial value. And further we do destructive check like microsectioning, and to see whether the barrel or the plated through hole is intact or not. And coming to thermal stress test, this is a test which we do for a rework simulation where it undergoes, which is exposed during the assembly and repair process. Here what we do is we bake the coupon or the PCB at 125 to 150 degrees centigrade for 6 hours. Then we follow it is followed by 6 dips in the molten solder, which is at 288 degrees centigrade with 120 seconds break in between. We see, but that is in between 6 dips you will have 120 seconds break, and after that we monitor ICR similar to what I explained in the previous test. We should see that the ICR should not be more than 10% of the initial value, and again we do, that's why we ask for 11 samples, because all the samples whatever we use for testing will be destructed. So one sample will be kept as a reference to verify the initial ICR and also to verify the change in the ICR values. So microsection and analysis will be carried out after each environmental test to ensure that the quality of PCB and its interconnection, everything is intact. And we carry out vibration tests. This is an important event because during vibration anything can happen. The interconnection is only through the copper barrel. The copper barrel is coated inside the holes by chemical process. It is not a solid barrel which is just inserted inside the holes. Because when we talk about a chemically deposited hole, the barrel should be intact whenever we subject it to thermal cycling or vibration, mechanical. So these vibration checks, we have a vibration table where we mount the PCB, clamps at 4 places, and we support with the 4 studs, and then we sweep the sine input, that is a vibration input we give 1 Hertz to 2000 Hertz, and we determine the resonance frequency by mounting the transducer at the middle of the PCB. And it is continuously at that resonance frequency, we continuously vibrate the PCB for 30 minutes. After vibrating for 30 minutes, we do bareboard test and we do microsection to observe any deformation in the barrels, which are very critical. And coming to humidity storage, this is the method where we used to see the effect of storage, because building up satellite takes from 1 year to 3 years. So PCBs which are made had to be stored for 1 to 3 years, and also further it has to be shifted to launch complex where high humidity zones it can encounter. Such things we have to see the performance of the PCB at this level. We keep it at 40 degree plus minus 2 at 90 to 95% RH for 21 days. After that we do rework simulation, because that is the one which can give thermal excursion on the PCBs. And after doing the rework simulation, we do microsection to see the integrity of the PTH. Then one of the important thing for the performance of spacecraft, it is not the performance of the PCB. The PCB used in spacecraft should not degas too much. There is a limit. Like we have a TML, that is total mass loss, less than 1% it should be, and we have to have a CVCM of less than 0.1%. This is the requirements which have been specified for space applications. Because what happens, lot of organic things we use in manufacturing these PCBs, those things will start emanating the gas. These will go and condense on the optics of the spacecrafts, which can affect the total performance of the, though your electronics becomes highly reliable, but your optics gets covered with the degas, these gases, and makes it whole spacecraft gets failed due to this. So this is one of the important characteristics, important parameter which we have to measure, and we have to qualify the base material and the solder mask material what we use, and the conformal coating materials what we use. All those things have to be qualified before we use it for this manufacturing process. Then we have to see dielectric withstanding voltage, because various subsystems you have already seen is being used for building up the spacecraft. We have a power subsystem, we have control subsystems, we have sensor subsystems which are used for building up the spacecraft. In the power systems we have a lot of switching relays which can cause surges, and we have power modules which will encounter higher voltages. All these things have to be verified, whether the spacing between the traces or whether the dielectric thickness what is provided for building up the multi-layer board is sufficient or not. All those things will be verified by doing the dielectric withstanding voltage test, where we will be applying 1000 volts, 1000 plus 25 volts and DC for a period of 30 seconds, and we will observe for any degradation in the dielectric material. And we also do insulation resistance test, that is between the dielectric, between the layers, and layer and between the layers also we do, that is between these traces we apply 500 volts, and we will verify whether the space provided between the tracks, between the land patterns, everything is intact or not. And we observe for 5 into 10 to the power of 9 ohms before environmental test, and it should be 1 into 10 to the power of 9 ohms after environmental test. So after environmental test we conduct IR test, as already we have shown in the group 5. Now we do ICR test to verify the Z-axis expansion. See, what happens is, once you build up a multi-layer boards, the copper in the hole wall barrel and the dielectric. These are the two different materials. It is a dielectric is an insulating material, and the copper is a metallic material, which whenever we subject it to any environmental condition like thermal and vibration and everything, they have a different expansion thing. So we encounter a z-axis expansion of the copper metal compared to the dielectric material. So that copper material should have a good properties which will not allow it to expand. Though it expands, it should have the property of coming back. It should not be brittle where it will break there itself. Such things, defects will come out when we do the environmental test. After each environment test, we do ICR test to see whether the interconnection resistance has varied or not. So for that, what we do is we provide a daisy chain connected through all layers and another connected through penultimate layers. Penultimate layers are very critical because they see a lot of thermal excursion, because on the top and bottom layers you have a traces where the pads are held, whereas in penultimate layers you may be having only pads which will be seeing a higher temperatures while doing soldering and doing reworks and other things. Those things also will be connected in the daisy chain, and we measure the first what will be the initial resistance before conducting any environmental test, and once we do the environmental test, again we subject it to ICR test to verify whether there is any degradation or increase in the resistance. Any increase in resistance can be attributed for z-axis expansion, which is not a desirable situation for these PCBs. So what we have observed is 4-wire measurements we do for doing ICR test. The initial will be about 3 milliohms, what we have seen, a typical value for 0.15 inches length and 0.01 inches width, where 2 ounce copper trace is being taken, and ICR shall not change more than 10% here also after any environmental test carried out. Then we do hot oil dip test to determine the lamination bonding, because the lamination, whatever we do, we build up the multi-layer boards by using prepex, which are C-stage, B-stage materials which are used for as a adhesive. So once we use that, we should see whether it will be able to withstand the high temperatures. So we subject it to hot oil dip test and for 20 seconds, and we examine each specimen for any measling. Measling, as you know, it is a debonding of glass, because glass fiber is used for manufacturing the PCB laminates, which is covered with a resin. So there is a debonding of glass fiber at the interconnection of the weaver structure from the resin, that is measling. Then blistering is one of the enemy of the PCB, where you find a bulging of the, that means delamination. It takes delamination at the surface of the PCBs, causing traces to come out of the PCB itself. Such a thing should never happen. So to verify whether the PCB is able to take up all those things, we do hot oil dip test at 260 degrees centigrade. And we do peel strength. This is very important when we talk about SMDs, because when we do SMD soldering and when we are doing any reworks on the SMD solder pads, the pad should not come out. Once it comes out, the whole PCB has to be thrown. And as you know that the components used for space grade will be 5 to 10 times more than the commercial cost, commercial grade or mill grade components. So we have to be careful while choosing the material, and we have to choose a material. Here material and the process which is employed will give the peel strength. So our requirement will be about 1.24 kg per centimeter, whereas IPC specify about 700 grams per centimeter as a peel strength. Then we do rework simulation, because as we know that our quantum of boards what we do will be unique for each spacecraft. So we don't produce in the bulk. So our most of them will be our hand soldering, hand works only. So during that we have to ensure workmanship quality also on the, so it should be able to withstand all the workmanship qualities. So we conduct tests like repeated soldering, unsoldering, and mechanical pull also we do perpendicularly to see the bond strength, so that while soldering or doing any rework, the PCB should not fail. Similarly, during the 5 cycles, we also do 5 cycles of desoldering and soldering to verify whether the plated through hole is intact or not. After all these checks, we verify by doing the microsection to see any damage in the plated through holes. The requirement for bond strength will be about 140 kg per centimeter square. And we also verify the flexural strength of the board, because these boards undergo a lot of vibration. It should be able to withstand that vibration and also load coming onto the PCBs. So this will be typically about 40,000 psi or more. It should be able to withstand. We keep it, it's a regular IPC test methods which we follow. It's a 3-point test method where load is applied onto the board. And we do solderability test. Finally, once PCB is there, components have to be soldered, and we have to verify whether it takes the solder, because that is one of the critical, because solder joints have to be intact for reliable performance of the electronic package. So it should have a minimum 95% wetting on the surface. I will be showing some of the photographs where wetting, a good wetting, and a non-wetting and de-wetting process. And we do a microsection is one of the critical tool actually for us to find out the overall quality of a printed circuit boards. And we examine at, after doing the microsectioning of the plated through hole, we examine at 100x critically to view the critically we have to zoom it at 100x to 400x, and we check for the following information like drilled hole quality and laminate quality. All these things I have photographs which will be shown how the defects can affect the performance of the PCBs. And addition of copper and protective coatings, and any undercuts are there or overhangs of conductors, defects like cracks, voids, and non-uniformity, nodules, pinholes. And we also check for laminate thickness, dielectric thickness, and overall card thickness, and effect of soldering on copper and laminate material. And finally, we subject every board to check the electrical integrity. We subject it to bare board testing. So bare board testing we do continuity, which will have less than 3 ohms of all the nets ends for a test current of 100 milliamps. And we do isolation tests, that is adjacency test also we carry out to see any poor isolation occurring. And we also have lot of power planes. When we talk about multi-layer boards, the multi-layer boards will have different functions, and we will have lot of power planes within the multi-layer boards itself. We have to verify proper whether the isolation provided is adequate or not. These things will come out when we do electrical integrity checks by subjecting it to BBT. And visual inspection we carry out to find any defects in the base material like blisters, wrinkles and mizzlings, crazing, haloing. All this I will be showing the photographs so that it will be more clarity will be there in these terminologies. And we see for any corrosions or any foreign particles entrapped underneath the solder mask or within the laminates itself. All these things plays a critical role when we talk about high reliable PCBs. And visual inspection, again coming to that visual inspection, we find out defects in copper and traces. Like earlier we had seen in the laminates, we see also critically view on copper and traces and the pads for any pits, dents. Even a small nick is not acceptable in a space grade PCBs. Small dents, because the dent we cannot measure how much depth it has gone. When we talk about a multi-layer boards, this is more critical because the dent can protrude into the second layer or the third layer, which can affect the performance of the PCBs. Then we also check for defects in protective plating, like we do solder coating, we do solder mask coating over the pads. So all such things over the traces, all such defects will come out while doing the visual inspection. And of course, mechanical inspection plays an important role. Before taking up for population of the PCB, we have to do mechanical checks because it has to match with the tray or in the casing where we are going to house the PCB or the electronics, and we have to verify critically the length, pitch, width, and once we populate it, we cannot do any mechanical rework on the PCB because it can affect, and a lot of ESD problems we will face while handling. So once that is bareboard testing, mechanical checks have to be cleared, then only it has to be taken for population. Now I will be showing a series of photographs where we have encountered lot of defects due to various manufacturing or the process. We have a nail heading which comes due to the drilling. If the drilling bits or the drill entry sheets or backup sheets are not good, such nail heading can come. When we do a thermal cycling, it can get see, there can be a demarcation, that is, it is an inner layer here, it is a plated through barrel. Once when we subject it to thermal cycling, we can see due to the nail heading effect, it can get demarcation. There won't be proper adhesion of the copper, inner layer copper to the whole wall barrel. This can lead to the total failure of the electronics which is housed on that PCB. And if you see here, when we subject it to solder float test, we can see the barrel getting crushed. It is called a pull away. So you can see very critically here, it is getting delaminated from the dielectric material. The copper starts floating within that and it will lose the strength. This will lead to the failure of the PCB. And after solder float test, if you see, there are a lot of breaks in the inner connections. If you see, this is about 1 to about 10 layer board, where you can see third layer and fourth layer has got, second layer has got detached from the whole wall barrel on the both the sides. If you observe here, the penultimate layer, which is coming onto the any multi-layer boards, will have lot of failures. So for which what we are taking care is, we are building slightly higher dielectric separation between the first and the second layer, and again from the bottom, the bottom layer and the penultimate layer, we provide a higher dielectric material, so that when we subject it to soldering of the pads, because the components comes on both the sides in our PCBs, so both the pads which are at the top and the bottom, the penultimate layers will see higher temperatures, and to avoid the temperature going into the penultimate layers, we provide slightly higher dielectric while building up the multi-layer boards. You can see the exploded view which is at 400x, how the copper has got detached from the whole wall barrel. And you also can see when we do rework simulation test, we can see some of the barrel coming out, pads are getting lifted from the laminate materials. These are all the photographs which we have subjected to. Many vendors have submitted their samples, and we have subjected to a lot of such qualification process, where you can see the failures, and these are our basic inputs to strengthen the process. And if you see, these are the view structures where glass fibers are laid and to which resin has been applied. So what happens is, when the laminate material is handled improperly, or if it is subjected to higher thermal, there will be a detachment of this glass fiber at the intersection of glass fibers, gets detached from the resin and makes a dots or a cross, creates a dots or cross, which we call it as meisling, and the continuous structure or chain of meisling we call it as crazing. So such defects, what will happen is it will become a porous here in this zone. It will become a porous and start accumulating the contaminations during the soldering or during the assembly process, and these contaminations can further reduce the ICRs and also reduce the dielectric voltage withstanding capability and finally lead to the failure of the PCB. You can see many such spots. This is mainly due to temperature effects, thermal effects, the weave structure getting disturbed. And you can see on the laminates, we have seen many times some of the defects like pits and voids. Voids means you can see there won't be any glass fiber thing itself. It only resin will be there, which will come out when we do the etching process, and we will find that there is a voids. These voids can accumulate a lot of contamination and lead to degaussing effects and lead to the failure of insulation. You can see here, especially voids between two pads is very dangerous, and you can see pit also between two pads, which can accumulate a lot of contamination. And meisling, you can see these are the chain of meisling which is not acceptable for space grade PCBs. For of course commercial boards we will never see, because we never subjected to any microscopic visual inspection. We will not be able to see with a naked eye these meisling effects. And you can see the structure, how the glass structure has got disturbed from the resin. And if you see, these are the plated through hole barrel, and if you see between two hole barrel, such meisling, if it comes, slowly these meislings will propagate and forms a connection between these two and forms a short circuit. This will lead to the major failure of PCB. That's why meisling, whenever we see any meisling effect, if it is an isolated one, if it is not in between the trace or if it is not in between the pads, it is acceptable. There are some acceptable limits. But when we see between the pads, this can propagate further because a lot of soldering, reworks and all will undergo. So this can make a final connection between two pads and leads to the failure. And crazing is a chain of meisling which will reduce the strength of the laminate and further reduce the dielectric voltage withstanding capability of the laminate. And you see another type of effects is blistering. Blisterings occur at the top or the bottom layer, where that trace or the copper resin gets detached and tries to lift the trace itself, and you can see some bulged portions. Whereas delamination you cannot see on the surface, it will be seen in the inner layers. So when we subject it to microsection, we can see any delamination effect between the copper and the dielectric material, so that such thing happens, it can accumulate lot of contamination and further leads to breakdown voltage, reduction in the breakdown voltage. And you can see the delamination in the hole wall and between the hole wall also. You can see between the pads, such delamination effects can cause failure. And we have seen sometimes the laminates which we have procured, we have seen some hairs or hair-like structure got entrapped in the lamination process. These things can lead to, these contamination can lead to failure. It is a rejectionable criteria. And while we also making a multi-layer boards, we have to ensure the cleanliness of each layer, and the whole process is done in a clean room of class 1 lakh. And these are the blistering, as I was telling you. It is a surface effect where it starts bulging up, and if you see between the two traces, when such thing is there, it will cause strength of the PCB material comes down and causes the breakdown. And coming to solder defects, we can see this is a good total wetting. You can see the total pad is wetted well. And if you see some of the land patterns, you can see non-wetting thing, which is not a desirable criteria. Because after all, when we this has to be verified during the process qualification itself, whether such a process, whether such a phenomena we can encounter, so that we can avoid during the process itself. Similarly, the de-wetting thing, you can see some traces of solder it has taken, but it is not taking fully. This is mainly due to intrametallic growth between the copper and the solder. If a long storage of PCB, bare PCBs are there, such effects can be seen, which what we are doing is right now to protect or to take care of this. We are vacuum packing the bare PCBs and we are using it only for 3 years. Only for 3 years it will be vacuum packed and kept. After 3 years is expired. The expiry for PCBs for spacecraft, what we use is only for 3 years, though it is vacuum packed and well covered with moisture protection and all. Similarly, while drilling, we can encounter hallowing. As I said, these are the defects which we see in the visual inspection. This is a non-plated through hole drilling for mounting the PCB. What will happen is, if the entry sheet or the backup sheet during the manufacturing is properly not put, or if a old drill bit is used, generally what we do is we limit the number of hits to 300 hits only. If we exceed more number of hits, the drill bits gets worn out, and if you drill with a worn out drill bit, this is the rupture caused on the laminate. You can see the rupture extending up to the trace. So the whole zone becomes weak, and such PCBs are rejected mercilessly. And you can see misregistration problem. This is a very good registration, and if you see solder mask is coming on the pad, which is not acceptable, and these are the some of the misregistration things where solder mask is getting covered, and even misregistration in the multi-layer boards are not accepted, which I will be showing in the next slide. And if you see the solder mask material getting peeled off, and as you know, space environment has a very hard vacuum which will go up to 10 to the power of minus 12 torr. When we subject these type of PCBs under those vacuum conditions, it can just make the solder mask material to peel off or degas, and it can affect the whole performance of the spacecraft. So such effects, or if such phenomena is seen, the boards are rejected and the material are subjected for qualification. And you also see wrinkles on the solder mask which are not acceptable, because any puncture or any hole on this wrinkle can make the solvents or the flux or any other contamination to get entrapped underneath the solder mask coverage, and this can cause short circuits or poor insulation between the traces or between the pads. This is again a rejectionable criteria. Again, the tentings, whatever tented wires, also have to be properly covered so that it should not get corroded, because tenting, if it is not proper, the inside the solder coating or the protective coating will not be there. So such things also have to be taken care during fabrication aspects. Then we have to see adhesion of the solder mask. It should have a full coverage of the traces, so that is a good adhesion what we are showing. And if you see between the trace and the solder mask cover, you find a gap. This gap is dangerous because it can accumulate lot of contamination during the assembly process and can lead to the failure. And we also see for conductor width and spacing between the traces, and also these are the ragged edges we call. These ragged edges doesn't matter when we use for a low frequencies. When we start using, or when we have a structures like ragged edges for high frequency, these ragged edges can cause an element which is going to start radiating. So this can cause the performance of the whole electronics can be different. You will be wondering what is exactly happening, you will not be knowing. But the PCB manufacturer would have provided you a ragged edged surface of the trace which can start emitting by itself radiates. Even conductor pins which are projecting on the PCBs can start radiating when it is used for a high frequency applications like data handling, data storage systems and all. And this is the good annular ring, means a plated through hole should be covered with a annular ring, copper annular ring, where the component is getting soldered. Sometimes you see due to misregistration or due to expansion and contraction process during manufacture, you can see the drill hole coming almost nearer to the trace or drill hole coming almost to the edge. Such things can cause during vibrations, these type of phenomena can cause failures during vibrations, because here the copper will not be there at all in the hole wall, and there will be more copper here. So wherever there is a less copper, the hole wall will definitely fail. Once the interconnection fails, the whole PCB is waste and it has to be thrown. And when we talk about zero annular ring, that means if you see here, it's a multi-layer boards connected with various inner layers. And one of the inner layer during manufacturing process, it has shifted. That means the pad has got shifted due to various things. If you see, inner layers will have different patterns. One pattern, there can be a pattern at the ground pattern fully copper, and bottom it can have only circuit. Such will have a differential expansion. Due to such expansion, you can see the pad gets moved. Once pad is moved, you will have very small annular ring connecting it to the hole wall barrel, or you may not have annular rings at all at this side. If you see this side there are annular rings, this side there is no annular rings. That means the connectivity is not there. For 360 degree connectivity is not there. Such boards are not acceptable for spacecraft applications, because these boards are sure to fail during vibration. So zero annular ring is not acceptable, whereas in case of commercial boards or in case of professional boards, they only go by bareboat testing. They don't subject it to any vibration or anything. So this zero annular thing, only if bareboat say okay or not okay, then they will just simply use it. Whereas in case of space grade PCBs, the zero annular ring is not acceptable. And if you see the laminate voids due to manufacturing process, and that too voids near the pads are very dangerous, it is not acceptable. These will come out when we subject it to microsection and when we do the solder float test. A stringent tests are carried out, and see that the whole PCB is, the complete PCB is reliable. And as I was telling you, there is an HVAC. HVAC means what we do is we subject the, after drilling of multi-layer boards, due to drilling operation, there will be lot of heat generated in the drill bits. So the resin gets smeared onto the copper surface of the inner layer. So that has to be cleaned. Typically a PCB panel will have about 1000 to 1500 holes, drilled holes. We cannot be cleaning each and every hole, so it has to be subjected either wet desmearing or plasma desmearing effect. As we told, that PCB is one field where all faculties of engineering and all branches of science is being used for producing the PCB. Here we use fourth state of matter, that is plasma, which will desmear the effect, and also it will slightly remove the resin portion, so that the copper, when we build up in the hole wall, will go and have a 3D contact. The inner layers will be held in the 3 position, so that when we subject it to thermal floating or anything, any expansion here, this will not allow. Thereby the whole interconnection will be intact. This is one critical process which is being used for space grade PCBs, that is plasma desmear and HVAC, where resin is slightly removed to the tune of 10 microns, 8 to 10 microns. This is an excessive resin removal, where you can see the inner layer has protruded too much and the whole wall barrel comes, that whole portion comes down. This is a not desirable thing. So we have the desirable thing, what we specify is about 8 to 10 microns etchback is preferred. If you see, this is a negative etchback, where the inner layer copper itself gets reduced and the copper what we plate, it goes, and you will not have a connectivity, proper connectivity. You can see the demarcation line. Anytime, when we subject it to thermal cycling, this will break and causes discontinuity of the whole wall. So excessive etchback also and negative etchback is not a desirable. And you can see the dielectric thickness. We will see because copper, when we process, you can have slightly ragged edges, and we critically view what is the dielectric thickness after the processing and see that minimum should be maintained as specified by QA guidelines. And if you see here, the copper barrel has come out from the resin. This is called as resin recession. Defect is called as resin recession. It is not a desirable process. It calls for a rejection criteria. It is a rejection criteria where the copper gets debonded from the whole wall. This copper should get adhered to the hole so that any thermal cycling, they both should reciprocate each other, and to see that the whole barrel should be intact. Now due to this discontinuity of the copper from the whole wall barrel, this will have its own way of expansion, and this way the dielectric will have its own way of expansion. Thereby there won't be any synchronism between during the during the expansion, thermal expansion. Now you can see, if it is not proper, what will happen is there can be barrel cracks, and in the knee they can be cracked. That means the copper has expanded more than the dielectric, or the dielectric expanded more the copper, making them to break the whole wall. So copper also should be, the whatever copper we use, electrolytic copper, should be very good. It should have good elongation properties, which will be measured during the qualification cycle. And the plating nodules are also not acceptable because it can hinder during the insertion of the leads, which can lead to breaking of this. When you are inserting the lead, these nodules can be dislodged by breaking this whole wall barrel and thus affecting the quality. And thin copper, insufficient copper thickness also can lead to the failure of the PCBs. And voids in the copper plates are one of the major defects which we have to avoid. Voids on the pads, all this amounts to rejection of the PCBs. And you see wicking, that is when the drill bit has made a drill, it has removed some of the glass fibers and some of the resins. So this wicking, what will happen, whatever copper we plate, it will also go into the wicking range. If any pads are any there nearby vicinity, this wicking can make a connection between the nearby pads or nearby circuits, causes the poor insulation and also failure. So wicking also will be verified during the microsection results analysis. And you can see how wicking is shown in the pictorial thing. And see, pad is very near to here, and the wicking, this is allowed, about 80 microns of wicking is allowed. And if you see burrs, burr is one of the major headache during drilling. So we have to use very good entry sheets and very good drill bits, space qualified it should be, and it should have a good backup sheets where the heat is the heat of the drill bit is removed instantaneously, and also while drill bit coming out, the entry sheet should take care such that the burr doesn't appear on the PCB panel. These burrs also will fail during thermal cycling or soldering. You can see irregular holes. Though irregular holes, sometimes it is a desirable thing because copper gets plated as the hole is irregular and becomes more strong, but more irregularity can lead to wicking, which can lead to the failure of the PCB. So to some extent irregularity is acceptable. So till now we have seen process qualification, which has led to quality in the manufacturing aspects. When it comes to acceptance test, because when we see any manufacturer can fabricate PCB and also we check intralayer insulation resistance on the test coupons, and we subject it to dielectric withstanding voltage, and finally microsection initial. That means when the initial sample we will see what is the thing, after solder float how the sample is also will be verified. So whatever highlighted thing like bareboard testing and solder float, interconnection and microsection, these are the tests where it will reveal most of the failures, so that we can weed out such things. Now finally the PCB is accepted only if the bareboard test is okay, and we do QC coding, means for identification and traceability, because once launched we have to verify the performance of the spacecraft, and each subsystem is monitored in the ground stations where we will be knowing the performance of each substation. So we have to know what PCB has been, what code, QA code PCB has been used in so and so spacecraft. So for that we do, it's a unique coding we do on the PCBs, and we do mechanical inspection as I already have explained, and we do visual inspections for finding out laminate defects, conductor defects, plating defects and hole defects, and also we check after component is mounted. And we do group B testing, where we, as already I have explained, peel strength, which is an important for SMD type of components, and bond strength is important for plated through holes. Solder float tests are important for rework simulation and solder, and interconnection resistance is one which varies during various environmental tests, and insulation resistance to see the withstanding voltage, and dielectric withstanding voltages to see the insulation provided is adequate or not, and finally we do microsectioning, which is a vital thing which reveals most of the defects. And we use some of the data handling boards as a control impedance boards, where the impedance of the traces are controlled during the manufacturing, so that we will get the performance of the PCB proper. Such a impedance test also we measure and verify whether the control impedance, whatever specified by the designer or the user, is meeting or not. And final approval we do the tagging, and we have a storage. We have a bonded stores which is stored at the controlled environment in the vacuum packed conditions, and we also have the non-conformance control, where we have a specific non-conformance reports which is raised by all our online QC and final QC people who will be verifying at each and every process. This becomes a Bible for us to take care of any corrections in the process, manufacturing process. So we all keep the non-conformances, and also we every week we meet and discuss about these non-conformances, and we also stress to our operators and the manufacturers to take care whatever defects we have encountered during the quality checks. This becomes this will ensure taking corrective actions and also preventive actions. This is a very vital thing for any manufacturer. A feedback from QA is a very important tool. And in case a vendor has been qualified already and he is supplying, but during acceptance test we find lot of rejections, then it may be called for recertification, where we have to see, and sometimes we also change the designs, which will call for recertification of the whole process. So by and large, the qualification process is very critical for high reliability boards. So quality, as we see, is not an accident. It is an activity that is carefully planned and designed into every product. Thank you for